Where's everybody? Hi, Cindy. No, 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 no. No, no. Hey, you're in control. You're the boss. Are you there, Leah?
Hey, Karen.
Hey, Leah.
Hey. So you have to add me as a participant?
So let's see. I hit allow you to talk. Promote to panelist.
Okay, I think that's it.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay. Got it. Do I need to do that with all the board members?
Okay, and now I can, turn my
Okay, good.
on. Great.
So I should do that with everybody, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, all right. So we got Allison.
Thanks for stepping in, Karen.
You're welcome.
It's like old times.
I know. It's funny, I feel kind of out of it though, housing wise.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Karen. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Hi, Leah.
Hi, Allison. How are you?
Good. Oh, who's that? We got a couple people at the meeting hall.
Yeah, we didn't know where to show up, so.
Yeah, where was the news?
It's on the top of the agenda. Always says where the location is.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was for
Yeah.
people who, anyway, last time I was at home trying to Zoom, and this time I'm here.
Sorry, I requested last time that we do it remotely because I'm in California.
Ah,
So we can switch back to in person in December if the board members would like
no,
that.
I love Zoom, but it's not mine to decide, but I was like, oh God, I gotta go down there tonight.
Oh,
Hi, Regina.
Hi.
Hopefully you get another person so you have a quorum.
Yeah, I know Barb said she is coming.
And there's two
And-
attendees, it says
Oh,
on the.
okay, yeah, Barb and Cindy. We can add them both as panelists.
oh, let's do that. Okay.
It's not Brit TBC. You remember. And luckily I have a key to get into City Hall.
There I am.
Hey, Cindy. Hey, Barb.
Where's my
Hi,
face?
Barb.
Yeah, we can hear you, Cindy, but I don't see you.
Oh, here, hang on. I had so many problems. I had to do an update. Oh, there I am.
There
Jeez.
you are.
Eh.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
Cindy, thank you for offering to take the minutes today. We
Absolutely.
really appreciate that.
Yes, greatly appreciate that.
And Michelle is sick, and so thank you so
Michelle
much.
is out sick.
Yeah, Karen, for stepping up and making this meeting still happen. So I think we'll go ahead and start the meeting, and then we can talk about the agenda, because I think we'll move over some of them more quickly without Michelle here, but there's still a lot we can do.
So, yeah, so we have three members present.
We have 4 members present.
Oh, right, Regina.
Yeah,
I see
Regina's
there too. Okay, gotcha,
with Nancy.
gotcha, okay.
So we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order, and we do have a quorum with our 4 members, which, reading in the standard operating procedures, it's actually a majority of the regular members that you have. So a quorum would be 3 people, because Barb, you're an alternate. We have 4 regular members. So majority is 3. So
Okay, good,
we're good.
cool.
All right, so I guess just on our agenda, we may, I think the standard operating, I don't know if we need to kind of officially talk about revising it, but I think we'll put on hold the SOP discussion because Michelle developed that and
Sure.
we're here to discuss that. But the other things, I think we can still all discuss them, and then there may be some questions, like particularly on the PUD and what the consultants put together, Logan Simpson. I know I have some questions to bring back to Michelle on that. So
Okay.
that sound good to everyone?
Yes.
Sure.
All right, so first agenda item is approval of the minutes. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes from October? No. Oh, and I just see it looks like Larry, our interim planning director, is as an attendee. Should we invite him to a panelist, Karen?
We will do that.
Yeah.
Hi, Larry. You can participate as you'd like. You're a panelist now.
There he is. I just had the pleasure to talk with Larry for the first time today. I didn't even know we had an interim planning director, so welcome, Larry. Thank you for coordinating, keeping this meeting going.
All right, I think you can probably hear me now.
We can hear you now, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll do this. There we go. There we go.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Larry.
Glad you're here. Do you want to give an introduction to the board?
Well, I'm Larry Manning. I got a call to come help while in between planning directors. I actually was the planning director for Manitou in the 90s for 9 years. And so now I'm back just to help out till we can get somebody to come in, hopefully with some longevity.
Wonderful. Well, welcome and thank you for stepping in.
You're welcome.
Okay, so back to the minutes item. I didn't hear that there were any comments on the minutes, so I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Did you
All
say?
right. Alice, and I will second that to approve the minutes from October. And everyone in favor, please raise your hand. All right, it is unanimous from the board members present. And I guess for the record, Barb is a voting member as an alternate this evening. Okay, next item is public comments on non-agenda items, and I don't see that anyone else is here from the public. So we will move on to old business and item 3, discussion regarding code revisions project, code changes with impacts on housing and explanation of not proposing PUDs or planned unit developments. So it's not entirely clear from this memo. I expected that this is probably was put together by Logan Simpson, but I'm not entirely sure. It kind of does give a brief description of why PUDs are not being recommended as part of the zoning code updates, and provides some good kind of alternative strategies that might be appropriate. I mean, my kind of high level question is how is that being folded into the zoning code update work right now? Is it being accounted for, or is it a separate project? That wasn't entirely clear to me. So that's a question we can bring back to Michelle. Do others have thoughts or questions or reactions to that memo? Barb, you're muted.
I just wanted to clarify, Leah, you're referring to the memo overall. In terms of, you're asking if this is kind of the initial direction on recommendations. Is that kind of your question?
Yeah. Well, so what we talked about last time is Michelle informed us that Logan Simpson was not recommending that we incorporate PUDs into the zoning code rewrite, and that they felt there were more flexible strategies that were more appropriate to apply. And so this is what we have in response. So that's why I'm assuming it's from the consultants, but not entirely clear. So Barb, you had something to say?
Yeah, I kind of remember that discussion, and I think it was because we just don't have the kind of space or place where that sort of development would be likely to happen. So I think that was just covered a little bit later on in the packet of material. There's reference to that and why communities are not tending to use them as much. So
Yeah.
that's all I remember is a discussion about it.
Any other comments or feedback from board? All right, well, I'll put that as a to-do item for me, just to follow up with Michelle and just understand how these suggestions are being incorporated into the work that the consultants are doing, and she can report back on that to us at the December meeting.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Okay, so let's see, on to item 4, discussion regarding council questions and changes to proposed housing habitability code. Okay. So Michelle did put together all of the questions that were sent along from council. It was great, and took an initial stab at responding to all of them, which was also great. And then I sent out this morning a revised document that just had my comments on top of that. I just thought it'd be useful to share that, as I'm sure others have comments too. So I think we should go through these step by step. And maybe the one comment I made on the top of the document is that when Allison and I were presented to council on the budget last 2 weeks ago, or whenever it was, the one comment that we heard from the counselors was from council member Chandler, and that she said that there were numerous instances in the housing habitability draft code that were not gender neutral, and that all of our documents should be gender neutral. So I think that's probably an easy fix to go through and change. All right, so number 1, required ceiling lighting. So the code says that all habitable rooms must have a ceiling light fixture. And I remember we went back and forth on this and discussed it some.
Yeah.
Because the electrical code actually doesn't require that. You can build a new home that just has a switched receptacle without a ceiling fixture. And so what do people think about that? Would folks be open to kind of putting in language that mirrors the electrical code so that there's that option?
That sounds fine to me.
Okay, I think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, door to a bathroom required. Partitions and other creative solutions are not unusual in high-end homes. And that's true. Do we feel that we need to address that here? In my sense, we're not going to have a lot of high-end homes that are being inspected as part of a rental ordinance, which is really the mechanism for enforcement of this habitability code, right? And I feel like a code enforcement officer that's reasonable, like Cindy, would see that, you know, if there's a, I don't know, a master bath suite that has a creative partition, that wouldn't be
I
called out as.
guess you could address it that in situations where there's a master bath suite, privacy for somebody using a toilet is ensured. Because even in those suites, generally speaking, the toilet itself has a little pocket door or some other kind of setup.
Okay.
And that way it's not just on Cindy to determine what's okay or not. There's some guidance about it.
Okay, I like
Leah,
that.
is there any way that you could put that document up on the screen?
Ooh, let me see. Yes, I can share the screen.
Thank you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's when I was trying to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, can you guys see it well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sure.
Aaliyah, can we go back to that lighting one? Because I
Yeah.
sort of was, so was it related to just it was anywhere, or that was just related to bedroom? That question.
Let me pull up the code to.
Yeah, in my apartment, I don't have a light in the living room. And my door obviously opens up into the living room, and I'm like, I have to plug in a lamp.
Yeah, a lot don't, but for sure, like the kitchen, I would think would have to have one. But I don't know. That's sort of why I was just curious why that was written.
One supplied ceiling type electrical light fixture in every room, including non-habitable spaces.
Oh, okay.
I'm
least
writing
two.
my property manager.
Yeah, I don't know if, I mean, that was just written in some other code or, but
Yeah, probably.
I just think about like bathrooms and kitchens. I don't know if it's safe to like plug in a light, but
Well, we
Yeah,
could go back to the electrical code and see, because the electrical code might define that for bedrooms and like living rooms separately than bathrooms and such.
yeah, okay. That's all. I was just curious. I couldn't remember, but it does seem like there should be. You don't want cords running through a bathroom or a.
Well, and they have to be grounded if they're in a bathroom or a kitchen.
Yes.
too.
So I think
Well,
that
how about a light bulb that is on the ceiling and you pull the string to turn on the light in the bathroom?
But I think that falls under this, that would satisfy this requirement because it doesn't even say switched. It just says a ceiling type electrical light fixture.
Okay.
So yeah, Aaliyah, we don't have to stay here, but just if we could note that.
Yeah. Okay. I did make a note, and I
Okay.
can check that because I'm familiar with that electrical code.
Okay.
So,
No, I wonder about something such I think bare bulbs are supposed to be covered now if they're like if they're in a closet where material could be up against the bulb and cause a fire. I think there is supposed to be some sort of covering that may be, I don't know where we get fire code, but I do think for a lot of these questions, if it's the electrical code is probably what should supersede everything else.
mhm.
Just for safety's sake. That's the main issue, isn't it?
Yeah, but some of these buildings will not meet all of the current electrical code requirements, right?
Yeah.
And
So
so
what do
that's where if there's specific ones that we think are important for safety, then
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
so
So what are we doing again?
And,
if
and
the-
also, so I think the issue is that electrical code probably applies to current development, right? And so
Hmm.
you're talking about all existing homes would fall under this code, correct?
Right. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we do need to differentiate that.
Mm.
meet requirement?
What's that, Regina?
What happens if it's an old house and it doesn't meet requirement, like there is a bulb in, that's just hanging out in the bathroom?
Well, right now, we don't have anything specific about naked bulbs.
Okay, just in general then, if there's something that we made a decision about it and I forgot what it was.
The
That
homes don't have to be
Uh,
like up to current electrical code.
That,
Okay.
that
Other
falls
than-
under existing non-conforming.
Hmm.
Other than what we specifically called out in this habitability code. So if it's not called out there, then it's allowed, even if it doesn't meet today's code for new construction.
Okay, so as long as it isn't a safety issue.
That's what drove our decisions in identifying what to call out. So yeah, I think
Okay, because, it's like, what's the point? If we're gonna let them continue to have things that are not habitable.
Yeah.
Yeah, electrical is, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so are we good on this one?
Yeah,
Okay. And then we're good on number 2. So number 3, windows. Some old windows are painted shut in older homes. Our apartments had old decorative windows that were painted shut. And so I don't think that necessarily is an issue as long as the code provisions are met, which are, and there was a couple, actually, let's read this too. Wasn't there another? No, I guess maybe not.
Like the
There's
screen-
another window one, right?
the screens one or not?
Yeah,
Oh, the
there's-
window.
There you go.
Open to outside, yeah, and the screens. So there's, windows painted shut and windows opening to outside both reference this number 2. So this says a window or skylight facing directly to the outside that is capable of being opened to properly ventilate the room in every habitable room, which is everything except bathrooms, laundry rooms, etc. So essentially all those habitable rooms need to have a window that opens for ventilation and illumination is what this whole kind of section 2 says. If, there's 3 windows in that room and 2 are painted shut and 1 opens and meets these code requirements, then those 2 painted shut windows can remain as such.
Yeah. Because I think, isn't it some of it just a safety too, to be able to get out in case of fire and.
Yeah, and so, yeah, it ties totally into number 1. I mean, number 1, the fire code requires in habitable spaces. I don't know exactly what it says, but I mean, certainly in bedrooms and,
Yeah.
right, you have to have a window for egress.
Yes.
So that window for egress is also going to serve ventilation and illumination purposes.
So then are you saying that 1 window in each room needs to be able to open?
Yes.
Okay,
And like, I mean, that was that sleeping area one. I remember our prior board member, apologize, I forgot his last name, but was the firefighter guy, and he talked a lot about
Yeah.
how people need to be able to get through the window too.
Mhm.
It's not just a little window that opens, in the sleeping rooms, but.
So I think, number 1 is going to be like, if there's any rental or if there's any unit that has challenges with complying with any of these items, number 1 is going to be the driver. Because
Yeah,
I think, you know, the egress requirements are more strict than these ventilation and illumination requirements. And yeah, we had a lot of conversation about that.
yes.
So one of the related comments was that there is some contradiction here, that it calls for a window in every habitable room, but then states that if it can receive enough light from adjoining rooms, then it doesn't need a window or skylight. And I think that section could benefit from some cleaning up. I did take a stab at it. Let me get rid of this. It's hard. Although I like seeing you guys. So I took a stab at rewording it and not changing any of the intent, but just trying to be clear. And so in every habitable room, a window or skylight facing directly to the outside to provide illumination and that is capable of being open to properly ventilate the room. There's some language about the neighborhood services officer approving a piece of it. And so I changed that to just, they must approve that it meets, you know, the required illumination and ventilation. And then we had this language about, you know, what that ventilation and illumination requirements are. And then even though this specifically says a habitable room, and we define a habitable room as a space that is not a bathroom, laundry room, etc., it seems there's questions that came up on interpreting this. So it might be good to just have a statement that says bathrooms, laundry rooms, and other non-habitable spaces are not required to meet these requirements. What do you guys think?
Looks good.
I have friends who have a high-end home, and they have an office area off of their lots of natural light kitchen. The office has double glass French doors, and that provides a lot of light into the office. But I don't believe that office has a window. It does have lots of ventilation.
Well, that is a great point. A door serves this purpose.
Okay, yeah.
So, and a glazed door serves the illumination purposes for sure. Yeah, how do we, do we just say a window, door, or skylight?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Could I just clarify, Aaliyah, since I'm kind of new to this discussion, that these requirements are to apply for any built structure, right? Any habitable structure in the community now.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I got that right. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. And this will be a complement to, or rather what the HAB has been discussing and considering a rental licensing ordinance will be a complement to this and kind of the verification implementation mechanism. So while this would apply to anyone who owns their home, you know, we're not going to have code compliance officers going into people's homes that they own to inspect and make sure that it meets all these things, right?
Right.
Okay, I like that change. That's good. Are we good on that? Screens. This was another one we debated. And yeah, you know, Michelle made the good point that because part of the habitability code, we talk about, you know, not having, you know, you can't have infestation of insects, etc., and that screens are important to allow the occupants to control that. So do people feel comfortable with how it's written? Does anyone want to reconsider it?
Yeah, I think it should be in there.
I suppose it could be seasonal in that, I mean, I have a couple windows, I take the screens out in the dead of winter just because I'm not even opening the windows, but
Mhm.
But yeah, but you have screens.
I have screen.
And I
Yeah,
just think for rentals, for the code part, this is the rental code, right? Or is this the
It's the habitability code.
habitability? Yes. I think it's important. You're, as a homeowner, whatever, you can choose, I guess, but
Mhm.
well, I choose them in the summer for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
as soon as those moths show up.
that's right.
Okay, well, let's make that case to council and see if there's other feedback.
Okay.
Lead paint, 5 and 6 are both about lead paint. So in the section of code, we state, let's go there, G, right? We say a lead-based paint pamphlet must be provided to any tenant. And the question was, can we provide that? And yeah, I think it's great if the city can support that. And Michelle responded as such. And then there was a related question about defective paint, which, because essentially it says, if it was built prior to 1978 and contains a defective paint surface, the property is not considered habitable unless the defective surface is repaired by at least scraping and painting with 2 coats of non-lead based paint. And so Michelle's response was, she thinks that defective is, relatively well understood. I think I agree. The other thing that occurred to me is that, like, what if you have 3 layers of paint over your lead-based paint and it's time to repaint and that's flaking and it's exposing the non-lead, the non-lead based paint underneath, and you really just need to apply a new paint layer. I feel like that's probably going to be reasonably interpreted within this process. But what do people feel? Do we need to have more description of what's required here, or is it self-explanatory?
If you wanted to make a reference to being a nuisance, that falls under that as a dilapidated building. So I have mentioned that to, I guess I don't have to give an address, but I have mentioned that to one of the apartment buildings and they did repaint.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
if some type
Sure.
of language like that
Mhm.
would make people understand that better.
Any other thoughts?
Always put in parentheses, paint does not adhere to intended surface, is defective.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, so we can add a little more descriptive language there, and I agree, that seems reasonable. I think we talked about this one. Is everyone good on these items through the first page?
Mhm.
Cool. Number 8, an occupant over 2 years old, why ignore children under 2? So this is just referenced in the minimum space requirements per people. And so I think Michelle's response is pretty good here, that it's just kind of meant to not really account for that person until they're a certain age. Okay. Rooming house, 3 or more units. So Michelle's response was not sure why this provision was made specific to 3 or more and needs to look into this. And I don't really have any more. I think maybe we need to get some more. I think this was brought in from another zoning code definition. So we probably need to get some feedback from Michelle on this.
Someone had just asked about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like
They were
what-
saying, is that the definition or?
Yeah, and maybe that's where it comes from, because whenever we get down to rooming houses, oh gosh, I don't know. It's somewhere here.
Okay.
So yeah, it refers to 3 or more units. And
Oh, I
maybe that's
see.
part of the definition of rooming houses.
I see. Okay.
Would be. Okay, so we'll get some feedback
Okay.
from Michelle.
Yes.
Okay, parking, exterior to parking, allow for automobile parking either in garage, off-street, or shared parking. Where do we require parking spaces? And there's 2 questions, and then is off-street parking required for all dwelling units? So I think our intent was not to require parking as part of the habitability code. We did talk about some different in the rental licensing code, not necessarily requiring it, but requiring that existing parking spaces be maintained, be preserved for parking. And so I think it makes sense to me that we don't have a parking requirement in this habitability code.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there parking requirements according to zoning?
Yeah, so new development would have to comply with those parking requirements. These are, existing developments that maybe never had parking. And, we can't require they have parking now.
But if you're renting a house in Crystal Hills, you probably have parking.
Yeah. Yeah, so what the code, let's see, what is this? L2, go back up here. L2. So this code says allow for automobile parking either in a garage, off-street, or shared parking.
Mhm.
And reading that again, it actually does sound like it is insinuating a requirement for parking. I wonder if we should strike that sentence and add something related to it in the rental licensing code. And then it says any existing automobile parking on the property must be retained, maintained, and utilized for parking. That's good. Parking must conform to all of the code specifications. So like if parking that exists must meet those code specs. Do you guys, what do you guys think about that first sentence?
I guess I'm not sure what it means. Allow for automobile parking.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of reads like, you have to have some sort of parking. Allow for some sort of parking. But yeah, what does allow mean? I don't know.
I guess I would say that this is more of a zoning, planning and zoning issue, and we'll have a lot of homes that may rely on street parking, older homes. And I wonder if this is the right place to address this.
Mm-hmm.
Could even just say that parking needs to comply with existing zoning. Parking allowed is, needed by existing zoning or.
Mm-hmm.
But that would require parking in places that doesn't have it now.
Mm.
Yeah, I think if the first sentence is striked, and you just keep the last 2 sentences, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that sound good to everyone?
Existing, yeah.
I agree. And I mean, there could be an issue, and maybe this is more of a rental registration issue where maybe the rental was offered with parking, and then over time, maybe that's been eroded or taken away, and you might want to address parking that comes with the unit, that a renter should be entitled to access.
Yeah, I agree. So in the rental licensing. Yeah,
But here I agree with Regina, just leaving that or taking that first sentence out.
okay, so we'll delete the first sentence. Okay, that was those two, 10 and 11. Then let's see, where are we? Ingress, egress, every rooming house. Okay, so this is back to rooming. Oh, what are they called? Rooming houses, I guess. Sorry. And the question is, should this be every room in every rooming house? Okay, so let's look at the
Did we
code.
do 11?
We did. We talked about 10 and 11 together.
All right,
And so they were both related to parking.
Okay.
And so the outcome was clarifying that we're not requiring parking if it's not already available, and deleting that first sentence.
okay.
Thanks. So this is in the rooming house section. Ingress, egress. Every rooming house must have a safe, unobstructed means of ingress, egress in compliance with the fire code. And yeah, it probably should be every rooming unit, right? I mean, that's what fire code's going to require. If that's like a bedroom.
Yeah. That's in rooming house, or are they saying, okay, it is every, I
Yeah,
see.
this is in the rooming houses, rooming unit requirement.
Okay, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Every bedroom.
Well, once
Well,
again,
or
it'd be
just
the
rooming, should it be rooming unit? Because that's the
Yeah.
term that we're using.
Oh, yeah.
or all the habitable space, because you should, if there's a common kitchen or something, you should be able to get out of it.
Okay, so do we just say, yeah, every habitable space?
And, including bedroom units and,
Yeah, and we define habitable space in the beginning.
right.
So we could just, and to include that, bedrooms and living spaces.
Yeah.
So is that better? So every habitable space must have a safe, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Okay. Number 13, this is a question about, it's asking, what is this supposed to mean? This language, it'll probably be easier if we go to it. It's what we discussed this quite a bit too. So we have this, we have this table that says you have to have so much square footage for people, for number of people. And then we have this paragraph that kind of describes how you calculate that when you have areas like a finished A-frame attic space that has areas of the floor area that have a low ceiling. And so we came up with this approach that does probably take a couple times to read it to make sure you're understanding it correctly, but I think it is clear, actually. It just takes a little bit to think through. And in most cases, people aren't going to have to apply this, right? Most rooms that are 7.5, 8 feet. But if they do have one of these situations where they have a room with knee walls and a vaulted ceiling that goes down to lower than 7 feet, then they can use this.
Should there be like just what you said to describe, because I remember that conversation, but should there be a asterisk or some kind of note so people know why that's in there? Like you said, the example of a slope ceiling
Mm-hmm.
or you think just in reading, people would know that.
So it says the floor area of every habitable room shall be comprised of no less than 1/2, blah, 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 with a ceiling height of at least 7 feet. So I guess if you read that sentence and you said, okay, my my room has a ceiling height 7 or greater,
Okay.
then I can just use the floor area. Yeah, I mean, it could, it could be reworked to be clearer. This was a hard one to write.
Yeah. And the question was just a confusion. That's what they were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they got it. As I recall in the response was, is this what that means?
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're right. I get the sense.
Oh,
that
yeah.
ceilings are to get, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
That's a good point. Should we leave it as is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and then the last couple of questions, I think, are about the abatement and waiver process. So 14, an abatement by the city to follow normal contracting protocol. What if the matter is an emergency? I presume we would follow an expedited procedure. So let's go to this section. So they're referring to the city abatement and cost recovery, which I have to admit I'm not as comfortable with how these requirements apply. There is a emergency conditions procedure, which seems to kind of give flexibility for the city. If there's, if there is an emergency situation, they can, go in right away and issue a notice and address it immediately.
Such as gas leaking. I mean, what?
Yeah, Cindy, what would that, do you know what would constitute an emergency condition? I mean, gosh, I would think what was in the paper, the bulletin, that story.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
Since we're recorded, no comment on that.
Well, can you tell us what sort of things would be an emergency? Are there examples of an emergency?
I had something that was just an emergency, and that was the hoarding houses that I just had cleaned up, because that was an emergency, because that person could not live in there with the just the health hazards, and there was no running water, stuff like that. And I thought, well, maybe that would be the only situation I would come across. No, there was another situation, although that person does have water, but that is not how a person lives. So something like that. So along those conditions, yeah, if they had a water break, if the house had caught on fire, like the Pawnee situation, we would go in and, take care of those things.
Well, how would you take care of those things? I don't understand what emergency condition procedure means. Like, what does the city do if deems something uninhabitable?
So the Pawnee was pre-me, but I do know that because of that, the house fire there, that a fence, the city put a fence around it to keep people out, keep animals out. And then we abated that situation. And for what I did, I hired a company to come in and clean those 2 houses. But you cannot live in your home without water. So I think this is a case of the house was out of the way, so to speak. It wasn't like everybody drives by it every day. But yeah, so that was an emergency health hazard. And I don't necessarily think that has to be in this particular section. We already have it in our normal code section.
So in that case of the house that didn't have water, so this was a rental unit, I'm guessing, that was under the existing rental ordinance? Did you, like, what was the city able to do?
No,
Contact
a person owned those. There was 2 homes owned by one owner, and neither home had water.
Uh-huh. And
So-
so the city worked to get it back on?
Both of those houses are cleaned out right now, so that the
Oh.
owner had to rent somewhere else in the meantime.
So they were like
Oh,
condemned, considered, would it be then adding something about being condemned? Was that what they were, if they don't have the utility or the water?
Yes, I posted notices that it was uninhabitable.
Okay,
So,
I think what throws me a little is the use of the word emergency. Is that if it's, a situation has been going on for 5 years and now somebody realizes, oh my gosh, this is filthy, it's uninhabitable, there's no water. But is that an emergency in the same way a meth house that explodes and is left available for kids to go running in and out of? Or,
I take the emergency to mean is because normally I would write a letter and that it would give 7 to 10 days or 30
Yeah.
days to clean up. So this would be an emergency where that letter wouldn't be needed. Or it wouldn't be required to do that letter.
so Aaliyah, the article that was in the paper, I do want to know how what we're doing is going to help that situation in the future when somebody is in that, when somebody's in that situation, how is what we're doing going to help that person? Because it normally is somebody who is poor, living on Social Security, Medicaid, and at risk of losing their housing if they report something. So are we doing anything to protect tenants?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I sure hope so. And I know, Cindy, you said you can't talk about that specific case, but I don't know if you can speak to, how I'm interpreting this is that this habitability standard is adding a lot more meat and structure to what we currently have to enforce against on the rental licensing program that you have for 5+ unit structures. And it would formalize that process. It would define these habitability standards in a way that are very clear, that would hopefully not allow something like that to happen. But yeah, I have the same question as you, Regina. So I don't know if Cindy, in a hypothetical scenario, you can comment on that.
In that situation, being a rental, and I was in direct contact, both parties. So when you are at the mercy of your contractors, that's, so that falls under the tenant landlord situation. And it wasn't that nothing was being done. It was the time frame to get all of that cleaned up. And they can't do it themselves. They have to hire those contractors. So they were able to get into the hotel like the article stated, but here's an example. There's a place right here in town close to City Hall, and it was the windows. So we again a rental, and the windows. So that falls under the Uniform Housing Code about the dilapidated building. You have to have working windows and for safety. And because that particular property owner was giving me the brush off, I had to get more strict. And I said, okay, if I don't hear from you in 7 days, you're getting a citation. and you're coming in. So that was enough, just saying that all of a sudden, finally, they put in, supposedly they already had an order for windows. And, but again, with COVID and the windows and being a historic building, it just takes time to get those things in. And so then, yes, the person there was upset. But from code enforcement standpoint, I couldn't do anything more to the property owner. The product was ordered.
Mhm.
So,
Hey, Aaliyah.
that's the situations that I fall into.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy. Nancy?
Yeah, I just want to say, this, I've said this before, this code is a reactive code. It's complaint-based and will close a whole lot of problems. When people have concerns, they can call, get code enforcement to come in, and code enforcement can then do their job. The rental licensing would be proactive
Mhm.
and, before tenants get in there and then routinely thereafter. You can't, but that still won't take care of just dreadful landlords and tenants who are complaining. Then it gets to an emergency and no one can know about it. So I think that this is a 80%, 70 to 80% solution to the problems in Manitou. And then you just keep trying to enhance. So I just don't want people to get discouraged, because I think that this goes a long way in cleaning up our housing. And it's not perfect, but it's hard, it's almost impossible to get to perfect. So keep going.
Thanks
Well,
for that,
I-
Nancy. Yeah. Go ahead, Regina.
I would like to see the timing. I don't know where that would be, but, or if it's a state law that you have to give so much time to a landlord to make their apartment habitable. But when it's a health issue, they need to fix that like in the next 48 hours or something. So, I mean, I think it's something to consider since we're doing this right now.
So and let's talk about that in the rental ordinance, because, maybe we could talk about like adding provisions that say, if you can't provide a safe place, if there's imminent health dangers to your tenant under lease, you need to provide them and pay for an alternative place to live.
Mhm.
Because that's what totally struck me from that, from that article, was that, because we have a rental unit, and like, if that happened in my rental unit, we would put somebody up in a hotel right away. I'd feel so horrible, and yeah, I recognize that, yes, it might take a bit to get things fixed because of contractors, but you got to take care of the
Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta take the health of your tenants.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, so then let's make sure that we have provision in the rental licensing.
Okay.
And I was just wondering, well, first, if this is going to kind of align with our code enforcement section, and like if there, are tiers, like there's an immediate life safety issue, furnace not working, windows not accessible, no water kind of thing, versus, some more gray area, a habitability issue that needs to be addressed soon, but not within 48 hours, sort of making to not put the burden on the tenant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have that defined in other codes, is that what you're saying? Yeah, and so we have it.
Yeah, I would think we'd need some alignment with,
Right.
with our code
Have it
enforcement
here.
section. Yeah.
And then I think we've talked about having some of that in the rental licensing. So yeah, that's a good point. We need it, but we need it in the right place and need it to align. Okay, so maybe that's probably a good question for Michelle too, because she drafted these sections. So to confirm with her that there's alignment, and yeah. And I don't even remember what the, what was this comment we were talking about? Abatement by the city to follow normal contracting protocol. What if the matter is an emergency? I presume we would follow an expedited procedure. So that still actually does seem to me the answer, that we need to make sure that if these requirements align with what we already have set forth, which we think is reasonable in terms of ensuring that there is provisions for city staff to say, hey, this is an emergency and this is how we deal with this, versus a situation that isn't an emergency, then that's what we need. What do you guys think? Am I thinking about that right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds like the city already has a procedure for emergencies.
Okay. And then so the requested waiver does not go beyond the minimum necessary to afford relief. This was even more confusing for me in the context of this ordinance. Okay, so this is this process of requesting a waiver, essentially, if somebody has been assessed with violating this code, they can request a waiver. And so it's here's like the request for waiver process, and then a waiver of a provision of this chapter may only be approved upon finding that all the following conditions exist. Unusual conditions exist at the subject property which were not created by the current owner, tenant, or occupant. And then number 2, I think, is what the question was about. The requested waiver does not go beyond the minimum necessary to afford relief. And I agree, it's confusing. Michelle's response was that this was meant to, the intent is that it's saying you can only request a waiver for your specific condition that is unusual. You can't request a waiver for a whole bunch of stuff because you have one unusual condition. I don't know.
Why not say that?
Okay, so how would we rewrite it? The requested waiver must only covers the unusual condition. I don't know.
Unusual.
Well, we could
The
ask.
requested area covers only the specified area of non-compliance.
Requested waiver only covers, get that down. Requested waiver only covers the area of non-compliance. What did you say?
Specific area of non-compliance.
Area of non-compliance. Okay, you can suggest that as an alternative.
Yeah, so, if, let's say they have several issues in a house, a really old house, they would have to request several different waivers for each condition.
Great.
Like I have no screens, I have no door in the bathroom, and nobody can get out.
Okay, I like that. And that's it. Anyone have other, did we cover everything in here to everyone's satisfaction? Is there anything else on the habitability code that people want to bring up or talk about? All right. Well, then we will move on. The next item is the standard operating procedures, and I think we'll table that, like we said, until next month when we have Michelle. Then new business, item 6, discussion regarding scheduling a board retreat. So Michelle brought this up, that a number of boards have an annual, I'm guessing it's annual, or maybe it's biannual, but a regular retreat where they spend, she describes this in the memo, or they spend, a longer period of time, 4 to 6 hours, and kind of talking about like big picture ideas, kind of where we see the board going, what things we want to try and tackle this year, and have it in a more of a relaxed environment with lunch or dinner or something. And so she brought that up as something that might be useful to the HAB. And I said, well, yeah, let's bring it to the meeting and see what people think. So what do people think?
Is it recorded?
Recorded. I don't know.
Secret meeting.
She does say it's posted. I don't know, Nancy or Karen, if you guys know anything else.
It would have
I
to
don't
be,
think it would need to be recorded, but yeah, it would need to be posted as a public meeting.
yeah, that's my understanding as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't personally feel a need to meet for 5 or 6 hours with all of you, as lovely as you all are. But I mean, I could see, I don't know, a dinner sometime after the holidays, or I know there was something informal sometimes.
I think if there was a specific agenda, most retreats, you're doing like a SWOT analysis.
Strategic planning.
Yeah, strategic planning, and we have a strategic plan.
Mhm.
So, I'm not sure.
Mhm. What do you think, Allison?
Yeah, I think, maybe similar to Barb. We don't have to meet like for a super long time, but maybe we do just gather again. If we can get some new members too, it might be nice to, introduce them into the our world of HAB. But
Well, that's a good idea. Maybe if we can try and get a couple new recruits over the next couple months, if we do, say springtime, if we do have 2-3 new members, maybe that is a good time to have. And yeah, it doesn't, it can be 2 to 3 meetings, 2 to 3 hours or something.
yeah,
5 to
Well,
6.
yeah, you could review our current treatment or our current strategic plan.
yeah,
Mhm.
And just kind of get make sure everybody still agrees to it. Update it if you want, I don't know, but
yeah.
there is something nice about not being recorded, that you can answer questions and talk freely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know. I think either way, I agree. I think it would be a good opportunity, to re-review things, but in the first of the year for sure. What do you think, Aaliyah?
Yeah, I think, I'm in line with all of you guys too. That's kind of my reaction. So what if we just kind of put it on hold and see if we can get some new blood on the board, which, might be nice to kind of engage in that type of way with new board members and hear their new ideas, talking through strategic planning and stuff like that. And just kind of, I don't know, maybe bring this back up beginning of next year, early spring, and see where we're at.
Sounds good. But yeah, like Regina said, we've done a lot of that work that maybe, I don't know where other people are, but with our strategic plan kind of early on. So, but a review would be great too.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say, you've got, first of all, it's really nice to gather in person and have a lunch or something. It really kind of is refreshing. Secondly, oh crap, I lost my point. Hate it when that happens. But it's, and revalidating your strategic plan is a good way to ground everybody and update that. So, but don't do it unless you need to do it, because you guys commit a lot of time. And are you all aware that you get free membership at the recreation center?
Yes.
I take
Good.
advantage of it.
That's the one benefit you guys have. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. You can also, because you've got your professional development line in your budget, you could hire a facilitator if you want. If you had a specific goal that you wanted to accomplish, you could hire a facilitator to help you out with that. So just
Okay.
a suggestion.
Okay, thanks, Nancy.
I've had a membership at our local recreation facility, and I bought it. Of course, I've had it for many years, but I bought it before COVID, and they keep shutting down so often that they've extended my membership. I have yet to be able to take advantage of it. But someday I'll hit the end of it, and then I'll ask to come in for free.
Yeah. Okay, let's revisit it early next year. Sounds good.
There was some email or something. Was there some request to place somebody on this board?
We just had talked about last time, like bringing it to some people that maybe had brought up maybe concerns, maybe they just weren't aware of the work we've done. Trying to get people that sort of feel conflicted or not sure, why don't they come and join us and be part of, be part of the work. And I remember, I always think of this example years ago, I mean, my son was little, so it's been a long time, but they were changing the park, the configuration there with the pavilion. And they moved the playground from that one end, sort of that we, and I remember going to like someone and saying, why did that happen? And they were like, you know what? You should join para, because if you're passionate about complaining about the park, why don't you be part of it?
Right.
So it's funny. So I did, I was on para, and then, have now moved around, but I think that's the thing. I think instead of complaining or, whatever, come and join us, whatever it is, historical or, parking, or be part of the committee and be part of the solution, right, Regina? No.
Right. Be part of the change.
So anyway, that's sort of it, just I'd love for that, when people even come to, I don't know if council can even say those things, but when people come, they could be like, hey, what a great idea. Oh, look, HAB has some openings, you should join them, or parking has some openings, join it. Anyway, that's just my soapbox for a moment.
I like it. All right, the next agenda item is, Regina, what you brought up, a discussion regarding potential ways to fund affordable housing development. Do you want to talk about that, Regina?
No, I have no idea what that means. No,
I think
that isn't, specific enough for you. So in the item 7 in the packet, there's kind of a brief paragraph discussing what you had brought up. This is an email that you'd sent to Michelle about a potential ballot issue to fund affordable housing by taxing rental property.
Oh, yeah. So Michelle sent out to everybody on HAB. She sent out that email and said, these are small cities, and it was all different towns around Colorado, and there was like a common denominator of somehow taxing vacation rentals as a way to increase funding for affordable housing, or, you know, any specific idea, but a lot of it was taxing vacation rentals. I mean, everybody saw that email. I just said that I think that it was a really good idea, and a lot of them passed. So I just don't know how we would take that money. Like, how is that money used for affordable housing? Like, if we had a fund, how would it be used? Like, I
Yeah, I
didn't,
mean, it could be used to support developers with incentives, either to, you know, directly, you know, it may not be directly providing those dollars to developers, but providing them reduced fees, and then, you know, that fund can kind of offset the city expenses. But you
yeah,
know, it's like our developments are few and far between.
right, yeah, right. I mean, it would really be like more of upgrading an existing building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess I just wanted to know what other people thought about that article that Michelle sent out. I was pretty jazzed to hear about it.
What do other people think?
I'm trying to remember if I know I remember seeing it, but I can't remember everything. Let me look here.
Could I just
wonder
say-
where? I
Just
would
that-
ask where, because of the limited land available. I of course, when I look at affordable housing, I'm thinking, you know, apartment structures. Or, I mean, there's not going to be, I don't think we have a lot of land to make a small subdivision of affordable housing, because how do you cap the price on a house? You can't cap rent. I've struggled with that for years, because I always look at the word affordable. That means different things to different people. Right?
Mhm.
So unless you tackle that,
I would prefer
I
to
think
limit our short-term housing. And I think we still have the moratorium now, but I do think that, you know, you get to a tipping point with short-term housing where that affects residential housing and what's available, and it kind of drives the market up. So personally, instead of trying to tax the short-term lodging, I'd rather just have less of it overall. I mean, if it was just up to me to wave a magic wand on it.
I think
Gina?
the point of Michelle sending it out was to show that there are ways to increase resources.
Mhm.
And, you know, a lot of it was directed at vacation rental.
Mhm.
And the towns approved a lot of them. So I don't know if that's something that we can do, but there's a lot of different things that we can use that fund for, if we come up with something to put it on the ballot.
Nancy, did you have something to say?
Sure. My training has always led me to, you don't work on getting expenditure or revenues unless you have a requirement against which you can put your expenditures.
Yeah.
So to me, this is something that, first you have a vision and goals. And that's where strategic planning comes in. And then if you have the vision, then you go after the resources afterwards. I try to go have a vision as unconstrained for resources. And then ultimately, if you can't get the resources, that's what constrains you. But again, I guess I'm just saying that I would advise you guys not to get into generating revenues unless you have a valid requirement for expenditures. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think there's potential. I think what you said, Nancy, makes sense. There would be a lot of research and legwork and that would need to go behind putting a proposal like this together. But you know, I support if somebody wants to look into that further and figure out what it would look like, what would those funds be dedicated to, and answer all those questions.
Yeah, I think that it was just more of, it was something that we've never seen before. I've never seen it before.
And I would also say, we don't have a lot of short-term rentals. If that were the revenue, we don't have a lot of short-term rentals. It wouldn't, you'd have to do a cost benefit analysis of the effort, because putting a ballot initiative is huge.
Yeah.
Huge
Yeah.
and costly as well. And, you know, you'd have to look at the cost benefit, and it may be worth it. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that there's, that in and of itself is a lot of work.
Mhm.
Yeah. And some of these towns too, they're probably it's higher end even. You know, they're probably getting more money too, because there's lots of ski towns. I'm just sort of looking through here. And places too that they are like maxed out on housing because they are more isolated. And so they're looking for workforce housing and opportunities. But yeah, I think, if there's something we could down the road think of. We've looked at places, we're trying, but
Yeah, I think it's really good to bring these stuff up on our agendas and talk about it and have these ideas in our back pocket, because, you know, it's like we all know we need a ton of creativity and just need to, you know, one day one of these ideas might come up and be like, oh, that would be, now that's perfect. Like now's the right time because of X, Y, and Z. And
I'm glad it was brought up. And Regina, you're right. I mean, it would be, if we had something we could place it towards, you know.
Yeah, and there was something else besides short-term rentals that they used to raise money, but I don't remember what the other one was.
Yeah, it was, let's see, tax on short-term rentals. Let's see what else. They had some housing authority, like levy kind of thing. So yeah, there were a lot of good options, so ideas.
Yeah.
thanks, Regina.
Yeah, Michelle sent it out.
Anything else on that topic? If not, we will move to reports. City Council liaison.
Just, you guys did a very nice job at council a couple of weeks ago, you and Allison briefing your budget. So thank you for that. That's all, unless anyone has a question for me. Okay.
Yeah, sorry we were long. I was listening to the brief presentations afterwards and
You missed, I don't know if you were there for the transportation parking board, but that was a challenging one.
It's a
So
long discussion. Yeah,
they got all the questions. You guys
Okay.
had one fairly easy, concern. So that was good. Yeah.
Thank you, Nancy. Staff liaison, Michelle's not here, but we do have, we know that we have scheduled January 18th, the first reading of the Habitability Code. So that will be the opportunity, as I understand it, Nancy, Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the opportunity to just discuss the code with council and go over their questions. And Michelle had suggested that we send along some responses to those questions in advance. And I think that's a great idea. So I'll work with Michelle to prepare that, clean up that document and send that along.
Sure,
And-
that sounds good.
I don't have my schedule with me, but is that first reading?
It's, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
because, that's an opportunity for the public to weigh in.
Mm.
It's actually a hearing, and
Oh.
then we have first, and then we have a second reading so we generally get a red line version of the code of the ordinance that we review, but that's happened. I mean, you got a bunch of questions from council already. Usually there's not a lot of input from the public unless it's something very controversial.
Mhm.
So I don't expect a lengthy discussion, but you never know.
Mhm, mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
So it would be, Nancy, it would be good to send responses in advance and then.
Yeah, and
Either-
your packet has to be in the Wednesday before.
Mhm.
So whatever you want to put in the packet, always a red line version. There'll be a cover sheet, which Michelle will probably help you with. And a copy of the questions with your responses to them. I would definitely recommend including that in the packet.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. So whoever wants to attend that meeting, January 18th. And then the second reading is 2 weeks later on February 1st. And so I think we'll get an indication of how second reading will go after first reading.
And there is an expectation that someone from the board be there at the table, either briefing or helping Michelle to answer questions. But it's helpful to have a, to show that it was a team effort and that you guys have really taken the lead on this. That's because you're the community lead on stuff. Michelle is a staff person, but you actually are more representative of the community, and that's a powerful role to be in. Yeah.
Do they ask just for one or do they want a few?
Usually just one at the table, unless you guys want, there can be 2 or 3 at the table. That's fine as well. Just whoever is really skilled at answering, very knowledgeable, and with the ability to answer questions as they come up. But if others want it, it's always nice to see people in the audience, and you can introduce them from the table and say, other members of the board are here, so and so and so and so and so and so, and point that out as well.
Okay. Allison, are you able to attend? I will attend.
I should be able to. I don't see anything. I'm not out of town or anything, so I'll put it on the calendar. I'll
Okay.
have to re-review since I missed a couple. I mean, I think I'm catching up again, but yeah, Barb or Regina, everyone's welcome, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's the day again? January 18?
18th. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, I don't see.
Can we
anything.
leave this on the agenda for next month's? Can we leave these dates on the agenda for December's?
So what, leave what on the agenda? A discussion about the January meeting?
Yeah, just how it's written here, that leave these 2 dates on the December agenda.
Oh, yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think we probably will have an agenda item too, just to check in if there's, because I think I'll work with Michelle to get an updated, responses, and maybe we include that in the packet, and we don't have to have a discussion about items if we don't need to, but everyone has a chance to give that a final review, and we can bring anything up that we need to. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. So board member reports. The only thing I wanted to bring up is just our December meeting. It's December 15th. And I just want to get a sense for people if you're around to meet then. We were just talking about having it, so I'm assuming at least some of it, yes, I am. and I could have it in person. Are others going to be around, and do you want to have it remote or in person?
I will not be here.
Okay.
I
Gina,
should
you'll be here, I
here.
guess. You'll be here, Allison.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you want it in person?
yeah.
Sure, let's do it then.
All right. And we can try, we should try and, I think just when we send out the agenda, the first line in the email, this is a Zoom meeting, this is an in-person meeting. Be helpful.
Yeah, I had to ask because Regina, I probably would have done the same thing, but
Mhm.
I remember Aaliyah saying she was going to be out of town.
Yeah,
So
see, I don't remember. I mean, I remember she said it, but then I don't remember.
yeah, that's okay.
So is Michelle staying on, Aaliyah? Because I heard she was retiring in December. So is she staying on our board? She hasn't said anything.
I haven't heard that. Does
Okay.
Karen, do you have?
I don't, I can't confirm that.
Okay.
And Karen, I guess I should have given you the opportunity of, you're sitting in as our staff liaison. Do you have anything that you need to provide an update for us on that was passed on for Michelle or whatnot? Just give you that.
Oh, I didn't communicate with Michelle, so I don't have anything via her. No, nothing else from a staff perspective.
Okay. Any other board members have updates?
I don't have an update, but I just have a note that my date is still wrong on the agenda. Remember it still says 2021, I think.
Oh, you're right. I think that got updated on the website.
Okay.
You're right, it's on the agenda. It needs to be-
Again, I don't know if it matters, but
Mhm. Okay.
someone had expressed
Make a note of
concern
that.
about that, so.
Thanks. Anything else?
I got a new job.
Oh, yay.
You're not at Cheyenne Village anymore?
Next Wednesday is my last day.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where are you going?
going back into addiction counseling. I found a place that will hire me.
Oh,
Who are you working with?
Peak Recovery Center. It's private insurance only.
hmm.
I
No
think
medication.
I think my friend Alan Cook has been very involved there. So
Yeah, yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, way to go. Are you looking forward to getting back to that work?
Yeah, I am. That's my passion. So very much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Awesome.
awesome. It's such a need for sure. So
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
they need good people like you. So way to go.
Thanks.
Cool. All right.
well,
Well,
I'm off to a niece's wedding is why I'm gone.
enjoy.
Oh, enjoy that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
be
Well,
nice.
happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, you all. And Cindy, thank you so much for helping with the minutes. That's
Thank you very much.
Wait till you get them first. No, it's just-
oh, that's a gift. That's a gift and a half. No.
Good to see you all.
It
Thank
is
you,
good to see you,
Karen.
Karen. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
next
Bye-bye.
month.
Are we adjourned, Aaliyah?
We are adjourned, yes.
Adjourned.
Officially adjourned.
All right. Thanks,
Bye,
Aaliyah. Take care.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.